But just how do you evaluate your, I guess, your offensive execution after that,
Yeah.
trying to get in the shot
Yeah,
selection
well, I
there?
thought our execution was fine. We had a couple post-ups there. You got to be able to convert, whether that's a post move, or just a layup at the rim. We had a couple opportunities there and had some good action there with Isaiah, turning the corner on that pin down right there. That's going to end up being a foul if he doesn't call that travel. We had some, ball's got to go in, though. People always say you have poor execution when the ball doesn't go in. That's not obviously true. So I thought we had some good possessions. We had one we went fast on, and another one we didn't, run the play correctly. So you like to have those back, and you get a little bit with us where we kind of have an offensive defense switch sometimes. Some of those possessions you'd like to have Travion in, but there's no whistle. So we got Matt in for defensive reasons to try to get a stop, and then we like to have Travion in offensively, but it's not always perfect.
Just maybe not as much production inside throughout the game
Right.
today from Travion and Matt.
Right.
Two-part deal there. How do they defend them? And just from your standpoint,
Yeah.
those guys not being able to produce like
Well,
they
I
have.
think it's kind of it's also a compliment to Jalen Smith. I think he did a good job defensively. He did some really good things. His size at times bothered him, but no, you just try to get him, opportunities as much as possible, and try to get into the paint. Try to get the dribble into the paint. Try to get deep post ups, and trying to get layups, open shots. A lot of things aren't going to open up for him when you go 3 for 17 from three. If you make some of those threes and you just shoot a respectable percentage, say you go 6 for 17, or 5 for 17, just, it will loosen some things up and they'll stay with some guys, and now they don't have, as much help on the interior. But at times they were just one-on-one, and, Jalen did a good job defending them.
Along those lines, Matt, with the job that Jalen's done over the course of the season, how much different is he from your perspective over what he was a season ago, kind of more of an interior-minded type of guy?
Well, I think a lot of times, you think more is better. You'd rather have him and Bruno Fernando. I don't think anybody would like that. But sometimes offensively, those guys being on the court together can really help Maryland, but also can hurt Maryland. And so we deal with it a lot, and we've dealt with it a lot with quality players. Because both of them are really good players, but he has more space to play. He's not going to pick and pop as a 4 as much. So he gets into some situations where he can get some open threes as that 5, and now he's diving and can get some of those lobs. So when you're that athletic and talented and skilled, you want to get him as many cracks at it as possible, or give him that kind of attention so that he can pass and create some openings for other people. So his presence alone, gets those guys some shots. But they can't forget about him. The guards will forget about big guys that are good, because most of the guards that that play, they've grown up playing with big guys that stink. It's just the way it is. They're just playing because they're big. So he's a really good player, and so sometimes as a guard they dribble too much, and you can't forget about him, man. You got to keep him happy. You got to get him the basketball, and he doesn't have to get 20 shots a game, but he needs to get 10 to 15 shots a game, make them double. Now get people in rotations, and Maryland's a much better three-point shooting team than they've shown this year, and you saw it today in the first half. They forced us to go smaller and switch 4 ways. But if they can shoot the ball well to go with how good they are defensively, they got a great point guard and they got a great big guy. They can go a long way.
And Coach, playing off of Jalen Smith is Dante Scott, the 4. What you see from him today, and how well he complements what Jalen does? Yeah,
well, he kind of became the X factor there in the first half. Him making threes. When you look at their lineup or you look at their top 6 players with Wiggins coming off the bench, he's the guy that's, is a freshman, hasn't been through it yet. Ayala is a guy that hasn't shot well this year, but he's capable. He shot 40% last year, and he can knock down shots. So he really helped them. We were trying to give a little bit more help, and we talked about his ability to shoot the ball, but he'd not really gotten going yet. But he definitely helps them. Anytime you have a good big guy and you got a stretch 4 that can make some threes, that opens up some space that really helps them.
Coach, how big was Nojo Eastern in keeping your team in the game?
Yeah, he was huge. He really competed the whole night. And I know we're down we're down at halftime, but I thought he competed in the first half. One of the few guys that was, ready to go. We kind of had a mass sub there. We've had a couple games with a start the way we started today, and so just trying to get some energy out there. But I thought he was great in the second half. I thought he did a really good job, made good decisions, drove the ball, but just played hard. And that's what we need from him. We need him to lead us and play hard, and sometimes he can get into some matchups that can really help him. And so we put him as our 4 from a defensive standpoint, so we could switch a lot of those things. And it really helped us in the second half. But then he also made good decisions and drove the ball, which was great to see.
What do you see from Aaron Wiggins? He had struggled a bit coming into the game,
Right.
but then he had a couple dunks and then a couple big threes.
Yeah, well, he went 3 for 6 in his last game, coming off the bench at Wisconsin. So anytime a guy has struggled shooting and they do well, a lot of times people don't understand, like, just keep him where he is. And so now if that's a rhythm for him coming off the bench and he shoots better, that's good. But he's a good player. Obviously, you saw his athleticism with that dunk. But no, he's a good player. He can make shots. He can drive the basketball. Sometimes gets a little in between, but that's kind of the evolution of a young player that's talented. Got to get to that mid-range jumper and finish at the rim to go along with his threes. But you're on a good team. When you're on a good team, sometimes you're not always going to get as many attempts and stuff. But we just try to stay with him as much as possible and try to make it hard for him.
Matt, when you have cut the lead all the way down 3, you have a couple opportunities to even get closer.
Yeah.
How big was their defense on some of the things that you were trying to do, and also
Right.
On that possession where it seemed like you guys were going to stop him again, and Wiggins found Smith.
Right. That was big. We fell down. So our guy that was guarding Wiggins fell down, and then our big took him, and then no one recognized it. And it's really hard from a rotation standpoint when the ball's in the middle of the floor in kind of a scrum like that. So that was kind of just a good awareness on Wiggins when our guy falls down and we don't get back up to, stop that. And I really think at the end, Jalen Smith was the key for them. We got a couple ISOs. The best we could get was, Travion with the ball and Matt with the ball and kind of one-on-one plays, and he got the better of them. And I think there's probably 3 possessions total there and going down the stretch. I'd like to get the one call back on the phantom travel call when we come around there, because he ends up getting fouled. I don't know if they end up calling it, but he just dribbled the ball and he looked through his back, and I don't know how he didn't see it, but he didn't. And you'd like to have that one back to get some points, because if we could have made it a one-possession game, tight there at the end, anything can happen.
Coach, it's been rough on the road for you, but what you saw in the second half give you encouragement that maybe things might change for you a little
Yeah,
bit?
well, you hope so. Obviously, there's another team out there. Sometimes people look at it as your woes, but we're yet to get beat on the road. Where you don't walk away and say the other team, they're a pretty good team and they played better than us. And maybe there's one game in there where the team maybe is not as good and but they simply played better than us. Here, Maryland's good. Like, everybody's kind of having the same issue. But whoever's going to win this league is going to have to win some road games. If you look at it. And so Michigan State's a team that hasn't been on the road much yet. They've had 5 out of 7 at home, so you don't know with them. Everybody else has, struggled. And then the one team that's won the most is Wisconsin, and then they lost at home to Illinois. So, if somebody wants to win this league, you'd think that they're going to have to string together some road wins. But we played well in the second half against Michigan on the road. We had a shot at the buzzer to win the game. We won a non-conference game on the road, and then today we played well in the second half. But we haven't played well at Nebraska. We haven't played well at Illinois. We have to do a better job of being ready to play. As a coach, when you coach a long time, like, people always look at you and ask, what the hell is the problem? Like, we're not getting prepared the same way when we play well to when we play poorly. It's one of the dumbest questions ever, but it's, hey, let's just not prepare for this one, let's just let this go. I think we'll get Maryland, and so when they say that, it just doesn't make any sense. But, you're trying. My answer is there's another team out there. Like, Maryland just lost 2 games. You think they're not, from a human behavior standpoint, you think they're not going to be ready to play. You think they're not more comfortable, in their own arena. So you just got to find a way. It'd been great if you could get this one or get Michigan, but that's the way it is. You got to keep battling and, just win your next game and keep your focus right there. But it's difficult.
Coach,
Yes.
Maryland's offense was pretty fluid in the first half, but the second half it seemed that you guys slowed them down a bit. What adjustments did you all make at halftime?
We just played smaller. I tried to sub in and play those 2 big guys together a little bit, because we've played big before, but then we just switched our ball screens 4 ways and just tried it. But, they're so good at breaking you down off the dribble. The better you can do of containing them, the fewer times you're going to stay out of rotations. And so we just tried our best to try to get help from our big guy. The one thing about getting help from your big guy when he gets deep, they're so good at those lobs. And so now when you come in, if they can find somebody on the other side of the court. So just trying to get our hands up. We were trying in the first half too. And things do look better when the ball goes in. So like you can give them probably more credit than they deserve in the first half, and you can give us more credit than we deserve in the second half. When in reality, there's a lot of variables that go into it. So they had a couple that they should have made in that second half that just didn't go down. But that's part of basketball. You get on good streaks and you get on tough streaks. So we just tried our best to stay into it and keep them out of the middle and, try to contain the dribble to the best of our ability.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Hey, Chris.